all right, let's be honest. He did horrible things, but he's got a nice facial hair. I think just
Jealous?
a little bit. But no, I think this is a good segue into talking about cancel culture and just kind of talking about, what can we even do if somebody that we have canceled in a movie, or if somebody that is canceled uncancel themselves, or how they can do that. I think that would be fun for us to talk to.
Yeah.
So what is it? Sorry, Andrew, but what even is being cancelled? What does that mean for the star? What does it mean for the show?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what it is telling somebody, based on one thing that you've done that the public now knows about, we're going to make it difficult for you to work and have a public persona. And I think one of the bigger issues here is that this is largely happening online. These are people on Twitter who say, like, let's stop supporting one person. Let's stop watching these movies. Let's stop going to their shows or watching their TV shows. And when you've done something, all we really know is the press release. And based on that press release, we're supposed to decide whether or not you can work. It seems to kind of be up to studios who think, oh, people aren't going to like what you did, so we're not going to work with you. You're kind of radioactive. I
was going to ask, who's deciding? Because it's not like people are actively protesting or writing petitions,
I don't know, because
right?
It seems like a lot of this canceling is just in summary a social media boycott.
Yeah. So but it does affect the actual studios and who they choose to put in their movies, and it does end up leaving these people without work. Not that they're struggling actors, but it's usually people who, for better or worse, like, they're in the public consciousness. We've known them, we've grown up with them, we've enjoyed all of their work, and suddenly when one thing happens, it sort of becomes the public's responsibility to judge and say, well, we don't like that one thing you did, and therefore you won't have a career anymore. It's political. It's people taking this into their own hands. And we've seen some people's careers disintegrate. And what I wanted to talk about today, what's interesting about it, is that some people are starting to climb back. And as cancel culture has kind of become a meme, we know it can happen. We don't want to get canceled. Now it's really, it's been 5 or 6 years since Me Too started, and since cancel culture became really prevalent. Now we're starting to see people come back. I'm interested in asking, how do people become uncanceled? How can people come back? Is it possible? Do you guys think it's possible?
They slip through the creaks. I mean, enough time passes by. I think there's so much happening every single day, in social media, news, etc., that I don't know, it's impossible to keep the track of all the stories all the time. I genuinely think people forget. I mean, they remember, but at the same time, I don't know, time heals, that kind of thing.
What exactly happened with Armie Hammer here?
Well, Armie Hammer is a little different because they filmed, if I'm not mistaken, majority, if not all, the movie before COVID. And during COVID was when we found out that Armie Hammer was canceled. And it's just kind of a different start. Like in that Guardian article that was shown previous, you see that they're almost using it as a kind of business fallback. In the article, they say, like, well, if the movie doesn't do any good, because we've talked about this before, streaming and watching movies can be very difficult with getting revenue. So if this fails, they can always use, like, well, it's because Armie Hammer was in it. instead of they can have that excuse.
It's the scapegoat. It's crazy.
Yes, yeah, it's scapegoat. Yeah.
Two really interesting things about that. Number one is it puts a lot of responsibility on the viewers, and it almost frames canceling as a public responsibility. If you're a good person, if you believe that this person's deeds should discredit them as an artist, then it's your civic duty to not go see this movie. But they didn't take him out of the movie is the other thing. And there are instances where we've seen actors taken out of movies, replaced, or just airbrushed out like they were never there. Johnny Depp comes to mind. He was supposed to be in those Fantastic Beasts movies. And I don't think Johnny Depp has actually been canceled, but he's been mired in enough controversy to where it actually had an effect on whether or not he could work.
He was definitely somebody that was about to be canceled, but both parties, I'm trying not to get too much into it, but both parties basically have evidence against each other. I am trying not to put my opinion into it, but I will say Johnny Depp is kind of tried to prove himself and shown like a lot of evidence, like recordings of arguments and showing how Amber Heard was abusive and, certain injuries that have happened. So it's that case is definitely interesting because if you hear of somebody that, beats on their wife or is very abusive, why would you want to see them star in a movie? Why would somebody want that star treatment?
Well, that's another really good point.
Sorry, Andrew, but I was just thinking that Johnny Depp is known to be controversial. Why did it take this huge, like highly publicized case and have to completely cancel him? And I don't know. I find it a little bit baffling that earlier, you still want to associate that type of actor with kids' films, essentially, because that's what pirates were, right? They were mainly aimed at children. Like, why would you cast such controversial persona into a kids' film? That
just out of curiosity, what other controversial things has Johnny done?
So he was arrested, right? And there was some heavy drinking, some fights, things like that. I cannot remember the details, but I find it interesting that it took that much to, and I'm not saying by any means that it's not a big case, but
that's definitely a different side of cancel. That's more along the like 2000s version of cancel, if that makes sense. It's hard to say if somebody has drinking problem or addiction versus like they actually assaulted someone. If that's the case, then why would they allow Robert Downey Jr. to have that mess up of a past? Then that just turns into, can we forgive someone and can they move on with their lives?
Robert Downey Jr.'s whole public persona is a redemption arc. It is the story of somebody who took control of his life and became Iron Man, But when we look at something on the flip side of that, like Kevin Spacey, who was a wonderful, wonderful Frank Underwood. People loved the Frank Underwood character on House of Cards because he was horrible. He was he gave you chills. That was wonderful, wonderful acting. That's what actors call living truthfully. That's a real method kind of acting in a sense of like, hey, this
know how to be horrible.
But I mean, it's not effective in that way where we feel it unless you're.
And you wanted more. You wanted more of this performance. You wanted more of his
and it was totally acceptable to love creepy Frank Underwood,
right?
And watch all of these despicable things that he did. But as soon as we look at the actor and he's a completely different kind of despicable. Suddenly we have to kill off the character. We erase him from the show. It's like it never even happened. And the actor disappears. And then we go back through his whole filmography and we go, well, you know, yeah, I loved American Beauty or I loved Seven, and now it's, can I even enjoy those things in my memory?
Yeah. And not to forget, and there was also that movie where he was straight up replaced. Like they shot, that's what I was thinking of earlier, Andrew, when you were talking about just getting replaced. Like Christopher Plummer took over for his role. I don't remember the movie. All the Money in the World, I think.
And then Mads Mikkelsen.
Who?
Oh no, sorry. That was Johnny Depp. Sorry, I was thinking of Johnny Depp and being replaced by Mads Mikkelsen. But yeah,
it happens.
But can we separate art from the artist? Like I before we started the meeting, guys, I told you, like, it was fascinating being taught films of like Roman Polanski and stuff, and sort of really investigating how brilliant his artwork was, and then the lecturer briefly just mentioning towards the end, oh, and by the way, he's also done X to Z. And it was left at that, but his films are still being taught and praised and still seen as, you know, the work of art. It's very, where do we draw the line?
How I see it is that all of that media and all of these things, no matter how awesome they've created, they're already out there. You know, we've enjoyed them for so long. You know, we've picked at it and say like, this is amazing. I love the scene. I think you have to separate the art from the artist because of what that might have done for somebody before these things come out about them. But we shouldn't let them continue creating, because that's just, then you're supporting them. You're supporting them as a person. Like, I'm just going to say it, Chris Brown, people are always like, oh my gosh, you know, he was a fantastic dancer, like, oh, all that great music. He had such a good right hook to Rihanna, you know, all these, but he wouldn't get canceled. I find that hilarious. That
what's interesting about that is that it didn't happen in the last 5 years. That was mid 2000s. Cancel culture wasn't a thing. People weren't on Twitter empowered with this idea that, hey, if enough of us bully the media, and if there's enough of us who are trying to discredit a person, we actually have enough power democratically to say, you're done. And sometimes they're wrong. It almost happened to Aziz Ansari when an article came out about him. It almost happened to Chris Hardwick. And after Harvey Weinstein, when all it really took was a hashtag and 2 words right after that, well, now there's 6 million, 7 million, 8 million, 10 million people talking about this one guy. And now we're going to airbrush his name out of movies we've been watching for 30, 40 years.
Yeah. It's that kind of thing with Harvey Weinstein is honestly one of the really good things that came out of the Me Too movement and all that, because he would have been doing the same thing for possibly decades, you know?
Sure. Kept going.
Kevin Smith actually was telling a really good story about Harvey Weinstein. He says, you know, I owe everything to Harvey, you know, he gave me a chance and stuff like that, but he's a shitty fucking person that did a lot of bad things, and I don't want to associate with him whatsoever.
Right. But it's really going back to what you said. As long as you don't continue, like we don't continue supporting on what they will do in the future, it's fine. But I don't know, there should be clear separation between, hey, this is the past work. Well, it was a really good piece of work. Let's leave it at that. But whether they're good human beings, not necessarily, but the work is stunning.
It seems like you guys are both saying that once somebody's canceled, there is no path to redemption. Like, we shouldn't, it sounds like you're saying you've been canceled and all the stuff in the past, like, hey, we liked it in the past, but going forward, we're never going to give you another chance.
So it's like you saying people that go to prison, they do their time, and when they get out, they shouldn't have a shot at living. No. That's not what I'm saying. But people should essentially pay the consequences of their actions. Everyone should.
What are the
Yeah.
consequences,
Yeah.
and how long do they last, and what is a sentence? Because the court of public opinion isn't terribly, there is no judge saying 14 years, you don't get to be in any movies.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Great question.
It's hard to say.
And that's the thing. It's like everybody knows that you can get canceled. Nobody knows how long it lasts. Nobody knows if there's a way out. And again, right now, the most interesting case to me is Louis C.K. because he got canceled and he disappeared for a year. And then he did this underground comedy set that went viral because somebody filmed it. And then he disappeared for a little bit longer. And he's been kind of peeking out from the shadows, being like, now a good time? How about now? And what he's finally done is he self-funded his own comedy special. I mean, that's after losing his show, after losing a bunch of deals that and there was I think he lost $38 million in 1 year of potential, especially that he could have made a lot of money. Disappeared. And then he comes back and he does this thing on his own. And he says, I don't care if Netflix is going to give me a special or not. I'm not going to wait for HBO to ask. I'm going to film it myself. I'm going to sell tickets to the show. And you watch this thing and the theater is packed. And he walks out on stage and they're applauding for him and they're excited to see him. And then there's people like me who said, I don't know how this went. Let me pay $10 just to see if anything's changed. Because for me, I go, he's trying to build back what he lost. I don't know if it helps or not, but the title of the special is called Sorry. And he's got, 10-foot letters that say sorry behind him the entire time.
I mean, I'm actually amazed because unlike him, many of those actors and, celebrities just went into hiding and they just stay there. They're not even trying to reappear. He's trying to fight it. That kind of makes me respect. He owns to it.
Well, so that's the interest. There's a couple things about it. First thing is that through the entire special, he doesn't address any of the controversy at all. And aside from that, like he's out there on stage and he's leaving it to the people to bring him back. But through the last couple of years, he's popped in and he's done things, live in small clubs. What that says to me is that the path to redemption may not be being in a movie with a major studio and being, on screen in a Netflix film. It may start with going to clubs and being a person in real life and interacting with real people and saying, hey, I'm the real guy. I'm in a room with you right now. If you have a problem, and I'm sure you get heckled no matter where you go.
Yeah.
But that's something that occurred to me, is that maybe your path to redemption is public appearances, is interacting with people like a real person.
Yeah.
Because
there's something to it.
There's a separation between who you are online, who you are on screen, and who you actually are in a room with people.
Is it the case of, sorry.
No, you're good, Max. You're good, Max, I promise.
Because is it the case of being forgiven? It literally just kind of occurred to me as being cancelled means being forgotten. And that's essentially the very last thing that any celebrity would want, to be forgotten.
Well, I think the threat is certainly that we'll forget you, we'll erase you so that you will be forgotten. But I think forgiveness is really what I'm after here. Is like, there's some people who they want to be forgiven. And the public has been trained to say, well, we can cancel people, we can forget people, we can erase people, we can punish them. If we have that power, don't we also have the power to forgive? And how do we exercise that? Because it's easy to dogpile on a hashtag and say like, yeah, he's awful, but when have you ever seen like hey, let's uncancel this guy? It doesn't work the same way online.
Yeah, but I think the actually trying to go out and make a public appearance, like you guys were saying, that really does something that shows like, hey, I'm trying to make amends to the fans and stuff like that, because no matter what you say, fans mean something. They give you a following, they give you more jobs, and they do stuff like that.
You also see, because you never know what the numbers really are online. You don't know if it's fake accounts, people making duplicate accounts. You also, like, it's really easy to be mean behind a keyboard where nobody can see your face.
Yeah.
But if you are at the grocery store and you bump into, I don't know, if you bump into Bill Cosby, it might be different than bumping into Louis C.K. Or if you bump into Kevin Spacey, it might be different than bumping into Johnny Depp. But how would you react as a person?
I was going to ask you guys, would you take I don't know, an autograph, or would you take a picture with, let's say, Johnny Depp?
I actually don't ask for pictures if I see, good. Not to be better than everybody else, which I am, but I don't know. Like I guess I'm just like, because I'm working on set, so I see actors. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, Chloe Grace Moretz, I saw you in Kick-Ass. Can I have a picture?
I would not do that. I'd be too embarrassed. But would you still essentially like, or just, I don't know, say, hey, great work, or would you just literally not even?
I don't know what I would do. I mean, if there was somebody who I really thought got the raw end of the deal and really didn't deserve it, yeah, it would no problem.
Yeah,
but I remember Bernie Madoff. Back in 2000, people saw him. Actually, I had a family friend who looked like him, and was walking through New York, and somebody like threw a drink at him, was like, "Screw you, Bernie Madoff!" Like, people were really upset about that because they were actually affected by that, by the collapse. But for something like, hey, I heard somebody was on a date with you and you were uncomfortable, or they were uncomfortable, and I don't watch your movies anymore. Hey, you jerk, I don't watch your movies anymore. Like, what have I done?
How do you approach the whole J.K. Rowling thing? Because that was quite interesting, that there was 20-year anniversary reunion where everyone were invited apart from her.
That's an issue of some cognitive dissonance out there right now, because people love Harry Potter like a religion.
Yeah,
exactly.
They don't want to give that up for a second. And the fact that she starts tweeting some things that they feel aren't consistent with their religion is tough, especially when it makes people so much money.
Yeah.
And they know they're still making her money. They just take her name off of the commercial, or they don't give her a spot on, but it's still going to her.
Yeah. It's still her creation. She has a right to it, but it was
not to say no whenever.
Yeah. Not to say that it was funny, but I remember when she was like tweeting, just all these crazy things. And I was of course friends with a lot of like hardcore fans, and they were just like crying. They're like, please, J.K. Rowling, just shut up. Please, just stop talking.
Someone said, someone please take the phone away from her hand because she's losing it. Yeah, it was shocking to follow that. It's just like, what happened? Is it because, I don't know, certain people get that type, I don't know, they reach certain level where they just think, okay, I'm good. I can do whatever. I can get away with anything. Can the level of fame affect those decisions? I know this is not really about uncanceling, but
no, it depends on the person, because there are people who are humble themselves constantly, being like, all right, let's remember where I started from. But some people just let that fame go to their head and have this kind of arrogance that you see here, and have this arrogance.
I think you're missing something else here, which is that what happens when somebody becomes a celebrity, the public forms an image of who they are, and they're really not. They're not looking at these people as full people, as flawed humans.
Oh, 100%.
So
Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears, all these people that were like falsely canceled for just having a stressful time.
But I mean, as nobody's 100% transparent on social media, not one person, and social media has sort of turned us all into these little celebrities and tabloids where we everything we do is a press release, and everything we do is framed so that we're in the best light no matter what. And as soon as, I mean, I know that all the people that I'm friends with on Instagram or Facebook, I only see 1% of their lives. There's so much more to them. I know them. I know what they're not saying to people. And I think that's really what's sort of occurring to me now, is like cancellation happens online. Humanity happens offline. And I think for people to get a real idea of a canceled celebrity, you'd have to actually sit down with, like, something like the Joe Rogan Experience is great because we actually get to see them as, in a conversation. Sometimes they're really good actors on there too, but at least we see some uninterrupted, unfiltered truth.
Yeah. That's what's so great about podcasts, not to represent Oh So Curious, but a lot of it is just a conversation, and you can peel back this image that they've even created for themselves. They let themselves be, and you hear how they actually are. I mean, personally, I listen to a lot of podcasts that are that are just just people having a conversation, people talking. What is it? Happy, Sad, Confused. That's always fun because he asks certain questions every once in a while that they're like, oh wow, that's actually something that I don't really talk about. That sure, let's get into that. Or
what my favorite part of that kind of stuff is you get to hear people stop and think.
Yes.
We don't see that on Twitter. On Twitter, it's out. That's it. And on Instagram, it's TikTok especially, it's an art form to learn how to edit beautifully. We don't see people go, maybe I'm wrong, or I never really thought about it. Hold on, give me a second. This is not an easy question to answer. And when everything comes out that quickly, like especially Chris Hardwick is one of the funniest instances of this, because an article comes out and his last tweet of that day was, I had a great day today. And then the next day the article comes out and people comment on the other one, oh, how good was it? Get ready. And it turns out like this was not an accurate representation of what happened with this girl.
I think the use of like the whole ... when you're like texting could be used a lot more on different social medias, just to make things more human. You're literally
just to stir the pot.
I mean,
no, I agree.
I mean, the reason I wanted to talk about this kind of stuff is because I think we need to outline some kind of path for redemption. I think we've kind of hit on a couple of things here, like maybe it's public appearances, maybe it's going on something like Joe Rogan, and that's what a lot of people do, is they get that uninterrupted 3 hours with him to talk about things. But
he can really ask deep questions.
But it helps. You have to be willing to tell the truth and show your flaws and show yourself completely. And to show some kind of remorse. I mean, to have 10-foot letters in back of you is one thing. I would have liked to see Louis address what actually happened there, even if it was within the stand-up set.
Okay, however, but there are boundaries. I feel like some celebrities really abuse that. Look at Demi Lovato. So it got me thinking, because she went under Rogan literally at the same, or closely around the same time as she released her new music video, where essentially the whole music video is based on her ODing in a hospital. It was super graphic. And I remember, all the comments were flooding with saying how, they're proud of her and stuff like that. But I just thought, she's literally monetizing on her tragedy right now. That was my sort of,
A lot of people do that. Tragedy gets clicks.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you really? I mean, some things should be kept private, no?
Oh,
not anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's so much. I mean,
call me old-fashioned.
when you bring up like the ellipsis, on like, for me, it's just stop social media. Like we're all acting like we're celebrities. We're all, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, we're moderating our lives, and we're curating our lives and showing people like this is a selection, filtering. Wow. Thank you, Daniel, who is producing today from behind the scenes. That is the word I was looking for.
Hey, Dan.
And isn't it interesting that Instagram even calls them filters? That is literally what we're doing. We're putting a distortion lens and color correcting everything so that it can't possibly be real. And we shouldn't be confused when reality comes in and it doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
To get back onto the question of, what can someone do to uncancel themselves? I think it just kind of goes without saying there's some crimes that, these people do that's just, that's unforgivable. Like, how can you let somebody come back in the limelight when you've known that they've actually hurt multiple people, Sure. But with kind of, and I hate to use the word softer type things, like what Louis C.K. did was a lot softer than what Bill Cosby did. A lot. I mean, Bill Cosby was somebody that everybody loved, father for generations. He was a clean comic, he was this and that, influenced so many people. And I was actually watching comedians in cars getting coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. And there was an episode with Seth Rogen on, and they were talking about when Bill Cosby got a Lifetime award, they were there for it. And they were talking like, isn't this great? And then Hannibal Buress came up to Seth Rogen and he was like, nah, screw Bill Cosby. And he was like, what? Bill Cosby is like one of the most loved people and stuff like that. And he was like, nah, he drugged and all this stuff like that. And he was like, a week later, all the accusations about Bill Cosby came up in the media and stuff like that. I don't know how Hannibal Buress found out, by the way, but that guy's a trip too.
Yeah.
Like a good trip. But yeah.
We're investigating.
Yeah.
Well,
also, he's out of jail, right? Bill Cosby.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
How is he doing? Trying to be uncancelled or living in the shadows?
Yeah, dude's like 90. So I don't know, really.
Yeah.
Probably on like a tons of pain medication.
But so is it easier for celebrities who were essentially known to be bad to be uncancelled? Is that
known to be bad?
I mean, someone who had a semi-controversial life to, I don't know, unless any, in compared to any other celebrities who's just like, oh, that's out of nowhere, that wasn't expected. Do you think someone who's known to be a, I don't know, quote unquote baddie has a higher chance to be redeemed in a few years over someone who's been seen as a saint and
there's definitely
a double life. People love drama, you know.
Yeah, it's never a good idea to claim you're a saint.
Really,
because you can really only fall short of something like that. You know, and if you're somebody who's, you know, greedy, or even like, if let's say you're not an actor, but you're a CEO of a company, and like you're using child labor, and like you're actually, it's like, okay, we're not gonna build you up to be something more than you are. I think, to your point though, is that when we do filter ourselves, and when celebrities are filtered for us, and when they go on a talk show and they're just, hey, the most fun guy telling a really fun story, you know, we don't see anything except for that saint picture.
It makes it worse because you think that's who they are. You think they are these nice and caring people, and then you hear of them doing this horrible deed, and it just, the hypocrisy, it hurts more.
You feel like you've been fooled, cheated.
Because we see something that we're not used to seeing, you know, because we're presented with a different image. And I don't think you get canceled for one thing for one day.
No, it's a pattern for sure.
I mean, there was a time where actually it was enough for anyone to just make a phone call and report, and people were, you know, instantly fired. It doesn't have to be a pattern, if that's what you're sort of asking. It can be literally, especially after the Me Too movement, it was very easy to make a lot of men's life really hard.
But honestly, it's hard. It's hard.
It's hard. I don't expect us to find answers, but it's very interesting to,
because we have seen something of a cancel culture. Not really. I keep thinking of the Green Mile for some reason, which is just a horrible thing. I don't know. This is where my mind is going. I'm thinking I'm just thinking of both sides, and I want to say of how I think it's a good thing that a lot of these people are getting canceled. You know, I'm trying to think of more people, but there's just some people that I don't think that need to be working. If there's rumors of you eating people, of you being a cannibal, I don't really think you should be working up. That's me. But
I'd
there's
like to verify them before we can. Let's.
Yeah, of course.
Sure it's
but
I don't. For me, because the question here for me is, you know, when we grow up with an attachment to art, whether it be a performance, even music, I like to think that, you know, if it changed our lives, if it really affected us and it was valuable to us, we shouldn't forget that it touched us in that way. And if we're being told that, like, well, this person is evil and now you can't like the art, I think that desire to reconcile your love for the beauty they produced is, that's really where this desire for forgiveness comes from. You want to see, how do I reconcile that beauty with the ugliness? And for a lot of artists, the ugliness in their life is what leads them to produce something beautiful. And I think to show remorse is important, to somehow make amends is important. But more than anything, I think that there's a responsibility that that the public needs to take on, which is the responsibility of forgiveness, because they gladly took on the responsibility to cast aspersions and cancel people.
I think that's, you kind of touched on something that I really like. taking responsibility, social responsibility. You know, we can't always try not to get too political, but we can't always trust, you know, the government and the judicial punishments and all these things. And sometimes people, just regular people, have to get together and say, this person did a terrible thing and we cannot support them in any way.
Yeah.
I guess what I would also add is that I think audiences have become really sort of overpowered and a little arrogant with the power of social media,
which comes with all aspects of humanity.
Yeah, but
very
I mean,
eager to judge.
There's this mob rule that even goes further than just canceling, but like people doing petitions for, like, we want a new season of this show, or bring back this character, or, you know, people like, I did fan art for this and we want to see this character, and then the character ends up existing. I think that there's too much power given to people who aren't even part of this, who just
but you could
make things happen.
I see your point, Andrew, but I'll shift it to the other extreme. Look what it did to Britney. It was because of the fans. Like, majority of her case was supported by her fans. It was because of her, because of them, where the fact that she actually escaped her prison, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of dedicated fans that were like spotting things and
fighting
saying, like,
for years.
Yeah.
It actually helped her. No, the kind of moral support she had, and it did help. So but yeah, this was generally because they knew someone was punished unfairly, whereas as you said, I mean, you need to prove whether, first of all, you have to have a proof for it, whether people actually did something wrong or not, before you jump into conclusions and start smearing them all over internet just because you have nothing else to do with your life, rather than to just get into someone else's business.
And by the way, I want to apologize for saying that Army Hammer ate people when there isn't. I haven't seen any evidence. That was just a rumor, and I just want to make that well known. I'm not trying to support
full disclosure.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to support any like angry mom mentality. I know this is a very touchy subject, of course, and I just want to be open that I'm not supporting, you know, just going full blast and doing these things. Does that make sense? Am I rambling? I think I'm rambling, but yeah.
I think we get what you're saying, though.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's wrap this up then. You know, A, do you think that somebody can be uncanceled? And B, how do you propose they do that? You know, and how do you propose they go about it?
I mean, it's our own personal decision, I feel like, but I think what Louis C.K. is up to kind of works for him, and it kind of proves to be working and be successful in the whole uncanceling method. I don't know, showing remorse and really admitting, first of all, to, sorry, I screwed up, but still trying to, I don't know, face the music.
Let's say you got canceled, and you had disappeared, and you had disappeared for 3 years. What would you do? If you wanted your life back,
seek ways to be for redemption, essentially. Like, Rolan, you?
I would say I would use that time to reflect and try to make amends as much as you can. You know,
Right.
It's hard. I would say definitely do things for your community. I'm really big about karma and trying to bring the balance. So if you've spread a lot of evil and negativity, the only best thing to do is try to counteract that by trying to do some genuinely good things, and don't go to the press about it and be like, hey, check it out. I'm building a garden for homeless people. Genuinely do it and just
stay humble.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
Just humble yourself, because a lot of this is arrogance and narcissism and thinking that they're the top of the game and top of the world because they are this famous actor and that they can do
apply to them.
Yeah, they can do anything they want to anyone. So yeah. Andrew, what about you? Like, what would you say?
Well, cancel them all.
No, I wouldn't say that. I
know you would.
I generally think that the issue of audiences thinking that they can cancel anybody for any reason, I think that's a bigger issue than because that affects more people than just canceling one person. What
about studios?
What about them?
Can studios have the same responsibility? Can they make the same decision?
Well, they make all the decisions. Everything they do is about money. And if you're keeping somebody in a movie and you're getting press releases about, oh, we have a canceled person in our movie, what's going to happen? That's just another press release to me. That's just more marketing for like, oh, I guess that's the guy, who I heard something about. Can you believe he's in the movie? I'm going to go see it just to,
yeah.
I think I'd like to see regular people take more responsibility for this and destroy this concept of the mob turning against whoever's the flavor of the week. In terms of actually trying to uncancel myself, were I to be canceled, I think it would start with being a decent person anytime I interacted with other people, making sure that the truth got out there somehow. And if I really am in the wrong, to fix the situation however I can, to address the issue, to apologize for what I could control, and recognize that, it was something I did was wrong, but it's not all there is to me, and it's not the one thing that defines me. And with a lot of these people, with any person, every person is defined by what they do, but not by one thing they did.
Yeah. There's the pattern. I see what you mean. Yeah.
So
nicely said. It makes me feel like I'm such a douchebag because I was like, I would just redeem myself somehow. And you guys talk about remorse and good deeds and stuff. I mean,
and that's why you're gonna stay canceled, Max. That's why you're gonna cancel your next episode.
That's anyway.
At least I was on time.
So that's
punctuality gets you places.
That's how it starts. That's how it ends, baby.
Just saying.
Well, I don't think we're gonna come up with the solution, but I wanted to at least take this opportunity to say, like, because everybody knows it's an issue, everybody knows it's a problem, it's something that different celebrities are encountering. I haven't really seen anybody else propose a solution, and I'm glad that we actually were able to, start digging that path.
It's easy to get caught up in anger and your emotions about these certain things, so I'm glad we were able to take a breath and actually talk about this.
Yeah.
Stay out of the really nice, you guys.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching this and you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share. We're back every week talking about stuff. Maybe
things,
things.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Why is water wet one of these days? we'll get there. I promise.